We detox to add life, not subtract it.
I didn't even know I was known for that. That's a beautiful phrase. Oh my God.
I'm Elissa Goodman, and I'm a certified holistic nutritionist.
I'm speaking about Elissa Goodman.
Elissa Goodman is here in studio.
They just get overwhelmed with the number of ingredients and the number of recipes for the week. It's a lot for somebody to do. So I try to tell them, you definitely don't have to do all of it. You definitely don't have to eat all of it. Implement a few things each day and build on it. That's the home run. When I got cancer at 32 years old, I just really didn't have a handle on my emotional well-being or my happiness or any sense of peace or calm. I have done a lot of plant medicine, mushrooms and ayahuasca and ketamine. When I do a mushroom journey, I see how hard I am on myself.
You were 32 and then you felt a lump. You chose to skip chemo. That's a decision most oncologists would call risky. What convinced you to be like, no, I'm going to do this because it feels right for my body? Elissa Goodman, thank you so much for being on the Ginny Show. I'm really curious to speak to you because there's so much about wellness that's out there. Some of it is accurate, some of it not so accurate, and some of it is in between. But I want to actually go to something that you're quite well known for. In the wellness circles, you're known for the phrase, we detox to add life, not subtract it. When did you have this realization that that's actually what detoxing is?
You know, when I was kind of sick as a kid growing up all the time, and nobody knew what to do for me. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't supplementing or hydrating. And I'm surely probably wasn't detoxing because of the bad foods I was eating. And emotionally, I was in a family that was very high intensity. So I think that was a little bit of a tricky for me too. So I guess as time went on and getting sick all the time, I realized, wow, what is happening here? And it really came down to the fact that it wasn't just immune system was compromised, I think, because of food and just emotional heaviness in my life, but it wasn't that I wasn't detoxing. So I definitely feel like as I've gotten into this world about 15 years ago, and I started creating these food detoxes for restaurants in Los Angeles, Cafe Gratitude, M Cafe, did some stuff for Earth Bar and a little bit for Erewhon. I got to handhold cleansers and see the difference in 5 days. Like their life changed in 5 days of doing a food program that was really clean. You know, no sugar, added sugar, dairy, gluten, bad seed oils, just, not like clean animal protein, all of that. This food was super clean and lots of veggies and easy food for them to digest. And I just saw a huge difference in how they felt energetically and how they were detoxing.
I want to get into specific examples of detoxes that you recommend on your site as well, but I want to kind of take a step back here. Which detox products or trends do you wish people would stop wasting time and money on?
That's a good question because I would say, well, probably juice cleanses,
What about juice cleanses? That's interesting. I used to do some juice cleanses and I never could quite stick to it, but please tell me why.
they just have too much sugar in them. Someone just told me they did a 2-day juice cleanse, and I just had her go to the refrigerator and look at the sugar added on the bottles of those juices. There were up to 25, 30 grams of sugar in one bottle of the juice cleanse. I mean, of course, you're going to feel great because you're getting the sugar fed into your bloodstream, with the juices. You're going to have a high from the sugar, but it's so bad for you to like have that intense sugar rush and then you crash. We're really only supposed to have 25 grams of added sugar per day. And she might have been getting 100. So when you put fruit in a juice, it's just, you can eat fruit. I'm not saying I love fruit. I think it's the fountain of youth. But if you juice it, it's like a sugar rush into the bloodstream. And it's really bad in terms of overall for your blood sugar, potentially insulin levels.
Absolutely. And what biomarkers, like we're talking labs, HRV, the gritty stuff like stool, actually move when a detox is working?
Like so many, blood sugar could go down. I look at people's liver enzymes. They also can go down in terms of detoxing because hopefully you're detoxing your gut and your liver. Those are very important organs. And then especially your liver, because that's where everything gets transferred through. Highly sensitive C-reactive protein, your systemic inflammatory markers go down, and cholesterol could go down, basically also glucose levels in the sugar department. And it could even be like, I do this CBC with differential, like they have antivirals and bacteria and fungus. So when I'm detoxing someone, if it's specifically detoxing them for something, if it's gut related, I'm always putting them on antiviral pathogens, like in terms of natural ones. So we can see those go down.
Interesting as well that you mentioned this, Elissa. Your 7-day digital reset, this sells out regularly. And you've obviously probably seen all the different detoxes, heard all the excuses, seen all of the, I guess, fallouts, all of the relapses. What's the biggest mistake you see people make on day one?
That they really can't stick to it. Like they feel like it's overwhelming, especially with a 7-day that you do yourself, you prepare all the recipes yourself. I think that they just get overwhelmed with the number of ingredients and the number of recipes for the week, because we try to have them prep for the 7 days. It's a lot for somebody to do. So I try to tell them, you definitely don't have to do all of it. You definitely don't have to eat all of it. If you could just implement a few things each day and build on it, that's the home run. But people just get into their head. They've got to do it right. They got to be perfectionists, right? Even with my 5 days here, people are like, I have to eat all this food. Then it's a lot of food that we give them because we don't want them to be hungry. And I'm like, you absolutely do not have to do anything you don't want to. You don't even have to drink and eat this in order of what we tell you, basically, or you don't have to eat the whole salad. The whole salad is huge. And the soups are 16 ounces. I mean, they're double portions. So I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, if you're hungry, great, because the food's going to be metabolized and digested. But, if you can slowly walk into it instead of dive and jump into it and see how you feel, see what works for you. I feel like, people don't know what works for them really, because they dive in and they take all these supplements or they eat all this food and they're like, whoa, this didn't feel right, or it was too much. And then they get turned off.
Aside from the feelings, now obviously with detoxing, there's shifts that's happening in your body, and some of it we may not be aware of. Like, for example, the cellular or microbiome shifts that happen pretty much by day 4. Could you kind of expand on that for me, Elissa? Like, what does it actually mean? What's actually happening on a transformative level to our bodies?
I really feel like it's really inflammation that's being decreased in the body overall. We really want to give our cells, food to fuel and to duplicate to make healthy cells. So it really is about, overall, it's lowering inflammation and lowering anything that is in the way of kind of causing inflammation. Because there's like heavy metals and, like products in our beauty stuff that we use, right? And plastics and water bottles. I mean, there's just the air, the water, just everything out there is so toxic. There's hormones and antibiotics in the animal protein and meats, and there's pesticides and glyphosates, and there's so much to be detoxed these days. So that is all just kind of an underlying thing that goes into the body that starts to create inflammation. What I see overall, just it's not rocket science, is basically that inflammation is being lowered, and then the body starts to function better without it. It doesn't function very well with inflammation.
Listeners love shopping list hacks, which I'm sure you know. So if you could just sneak 3 ingredients, Elissa, into every fridge in America to lower inflammation this week, what would those 3 ingredients be?
3 ingredients. That's hard.
It's
Okay.
wildly specific, I know, but I
yeah.
just thought I'd keep it quick and easy for people.
So, because there's so many that I love. So this might not be a 3 ingredient thing, but a green juice like cucumber, celery, lemon, ginger, or just cucumber, celery, lemon, let's say, you throw it in a blender and you drink it like 16 ounces a day, home run, just like, because it's full of like minerals and nutrients and super detoxifying. So A green juice is something that kind of is like exceptional that people just forget about, or they go buy it. And like I said earlier, it has too much sugar in it. I never put any fruit or, beets or carrots because they're too much sugar. And it also holds the fiber from because you blend it instead of juice it. I would say like having just those kind of vegetables in the fridge are amazing. Then I kind of would say like probiotics, like a probiotic food like cocoa or probiotic yogurts or Kefir Labs is another one that's amazing. I mean, that 100 trillion probiotics in that drink, like in you know, one serving, or they have these little shots. The shots have 100 trillion. That to help your microbiome rebalance and rebuild your beneficial bacteria is like a home run as well. So that would be, and then it's weird. I probably would say filtered water, like a really good filtration system like AquaTrue. A lot of people don't have filters on their house. So we are getting a lot of, heavy metals in the water. So I would say that is probably just to drink really clean water would be important.
You've given us quite a lovely rundown here. Green juices, I agree. The celery, cucumber, and lemon you mentioned to have in the morning, or to have really, as opposed to bottled juices. Another point of interest for our Ginny Show listener is that, especially with my work schedule, many of us work long hours. I love routines, but routines tend to go out the window when I'm traveling. Right. When you're on a plane for however many hours you land in a new place and then routines are gone. Can you give us your airport detox playbook and the non-negotiables that keep you resilient when routines fall apart?
There's a hydrating powder. There's a lot of hydrating powders out there that are great, but there's one that I've used for like 8 years called Ultima Replenisher. And it's just has a good array of magnesium, manganese, potassium, vitamin C, zinc, and sodium or chloride. And it just helps your water go into your cells so that you absorb the water. You don't just drink water and pee it out. So I take like travel packets of that wherever I go. I buy a 32-ounce bottle of water while I'm traveling, and I put one of those travel packets because it can be a little sweet. It's sweetened with stevia. I put one travel packet into 32 ounces, and it is a lifesaver. Also, you don't feel the jet lag as much if you're going through a time difference. So it's like, and you also don't have to get up to go to the bathroom because you're absorbing the water. That is one of my absolute musts. There's another one, it's called Tulsi tea, Tulsi. It's organic, India by organic. It's holy basil. It's an adaptogen herb that's the queen. It's like higher on the rating scale than ashwagandha. You hear about ashwagandha being so great for your stress, right? So you're traveling and you're stressed, and this tea you just stick into like you can ask the flight attendant for like a hot water, and you stick the tea bag in. You get 1,000 milligrams of holy basil, and it is another lifesaver because it calms your central nervous system down. Then, well, I would say that I have these super seed bars that I make and ship across the country. So I also travel with those. I can't go anywhere without them. They have protein, they're healthy bars, they're real food based. So for a food alternative, I definitely travel with that.
You mentioned that you purchase a 32-ounce bottle. How much water should we be drinking when we're flying up in the air?
That is such a great question too. You know what, we just don't realize how much water that we should be drinking. We think we need double our body weight, really, or half our body weight, really. It's 96 ounces for women a day. And it doesn't have to be necessarily just water. It could be like if you're having a smoothie, if you're having anything or Tulsi tea or, nothing caffeinated. So juice, smoothie, water, tea, that's not caffeinated, then it counts towards the 96 ounces. Men need 120 ounces. So it's a lot more than most of my clients are like getting, 65, if lucky 70. They're not even getting close to what we need per day, especially traveling. Cut back because nobody wants to run to the bathroom all the time while you're traveling.
Yeah. Up in the air as well, the obviously airplane food gets served depending on what cabin that you're seated in. And obviously some cabins get more visually appealing food than the other, let's just say. Should we be eating foods when we're up in the air? And if so, what food should we eat and what should we steer away from?
I feel like If I could have my choice, it depends on how far I'm traveling, though. I would not eat the food on the airplane. Because it never seems good and healthy. And like, I don't really feel great when I eat it,
Yeah.
even though it looks healthy, I'm sure it's not at my quality of what I'm looking for. When I do go long distance, I do try to eat before I leave. So, or when I land, I just feel like digesting food in an airplane can be tricky. And I know that's really extreme for a lot of people. So I rather just drink.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. I have been traveling long distance for about, what are we now, 14 years now. I don't think I've eaten one meal completely on the airplane for your reasons too. I never felt good when I ate it, and the smell of the sodium I was wearing masks before everybody else was doing it for that reason too, because I do feel better when you are drinking something. Like I would drink a juice or something like that they'd make or press it. But it is really interesting because eating is quite difficult up in the air.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
because you need something to do. You get bored, right? I think it's just a boredom.
And it's those habits that we have back on the earth that we kind of put up here, right?
You're not even hungry. That's another thing about dehydration. If you're like 2 to 3% dehydrated, you think you're hungry. And you also start to pump out more adrenaline and cortisol from your adrenals. So it makes you stressed if you're just 2 to 3% dehydrated. It's crazy. It's funny. I have clients that talk to me and I'll say to them, do you drink a couple of glasses of water before you drink your coffee in the morning? And they're like, no, I just go right for my coffee or my tea, something caffeinated. But your body has been detoxing through the night. And so basically you're dehydrated when you wake up. They just go right to more dehydration. So clients will tell me like the 2 cups of water before their caffeinated drink changed their life. And I'm like, wait, you just paid me that amount of money to just tell you about 2 cups of water before it's
Is
crazy.
that really what we need to do? Drink water before we have coffee? Two
Yeah.
cups.
2 cups, 16 ounces. It'll change your life.
You've spoken about perfectionism and chronic stress as silent carcinogens, which I think was very aptly worded. I don't think we talk enough about detoxing emotionally. And I think that is something that is very a cornerstone to mental health. Can you share a moment when unchecked stress almost derailed your own progress?
Just one moment.
Whichever moment you want to share.
I mean, like so many. I can't tell you. It's still happening today. So I would say when I got cancer at 32 years old. So that I was so stressed. I just really didn't have a handle on my emotional well-being or my happiness or what was any sense of peace or calm. And then I ended up getting diagnosed with, Hodgkin's lymphoma at the age of 32 years old. So that definitely like woke me up. During that time, a radiologist asked me questions when he saw my scans on the cancer. And he said, are you happy? Do you love your job? Do you love your husband? Do you love yourself? Do you love what you do? Do you love your life? Do you have any sense of like what, makes you happy? How do you stay calm throughout your day? And how's your sleep? And I was like, who asked those kind of questions? What doctor? That was 30 years ago. It was like, wait, what the hell? This was so crazy. And I'll never forget that moment. That completely changed my life. Ever since then, when things go awry, I know it's emotional. Always is. Like I can get sick and I know something right before it emotionally happened that tanked me, So I feel so strongly like that I've been able to get to this place and be really healthy and vibrant at my age because I've worked so hard on really getting a handle on my emotional well-being, and really kind of tapping into loving myself and honoring who I am with all my imperfections and just really having some sense of what really lifts me up and makes me happy and really trying to stay in that place with those people or around me, excuse me, or doing what I love.
Emotional regulation, I would say, is something that is not checked enough in life social media because it's not sexy, right? You go to therapy for an hour and you really work through your core wounds, your trauma, your triggers. But no, you can't Instagram that. So what's the point in doing it? But it is, to your point, it can now, as research has proven as well, the stresses in our lives, the internal triggers, the traumas that we hold in our body, it is life or death if we don't look at these things.
All of my clients, I do ask them, like when they have cancer, basically, or hardcore health issues like, autoimmune issues and big digestive issues. I'm like, so, what has gone on in your life emotionally? Like what kind of like things have traumatized you? We all have trauma at some point in our life. A lot of times they do say the first 7 years of your life, your, subconscious is fully downloaded. So if you had really bad trauma during those years, you kind of hold on to that because we operate 95% out of our subconscious. So, a lot of them did have trauma in those first 7 years. I remember years and years talking to clients with cancer, and they all had something that went on in the first 7 years. And it was always so like, wow, this is so wild. We try to forget about it mentally, but it stays in our cells and in our tissues. It just like, and it keeps repeating in our subconscious, even though we feel like we've gotten beyond it. We're still telling ourselves, oh, we're not good enough, or we're not pretty enough, or that happened. So, that was so traumatic. I can't get beyond it. I mean, and I have done a lot of plant medicine. I think that has been my lifesaver. Mushrooms and ayahuasca and ketamine. And I know it's like very LA, very out there. But it's been life-saving. Like I've just been able to like see my patterns when I do a mushroom journey. I see how hard I am on myself. I see that I don't know how to relax or love myself for who I am. And when you get to really viscerally feel that feeling like, oh my God, I don't love myself. It feels heartbreaking. But when you're in therapy, which I think therapy is great, and talk therapy, because I did that for many, many years, you're still in your head. It's not in your body. You want to viscerally feel like what is causing you not to be really well and vibrant in your body? What do you really need to release to like get to the next phase in your life that you're trying to achieve?
I didn't actually know what you just mentioned there. That was, I mean, I've learned a lot so far, but what you mentioned about the first 7 years of our life, our entire subconscious is downloaded. So it's more than the first 5 years, which, clinically is your formative years, but 7. So your subconscious is completely downloaded and imprinted by all those experiences. So you carry that into your adult and future decision making. That's so interesting. I did not know that.
I know it was a mind blowing when I learned that years ago, about I think 8 years ago. So there's still things that happen after the 7 years that can be imprinted as well. But that first 7 years is pretty, it's kind of like you're forming everything, as you were saying, the formative years. And you're also in a very vulnerable place in your life.
Because you have adults who are capable, incapable, unfit, or fit, making decisions for you. That's so true. Elissa, you mentioned about your cancer journey. You briefly touched on that. You were 32 and then you felt a lump, and that was what prompted you to go see a doctor. But it's interesting because you chose to shorten conventional radiation and skip chemo. That's a decision most oncologists would call risky. But there seemed to be like something in you, an inner knowing, data. What convinced you to be like, no, I'm going to do this because it feels right for my body?
It was an early stage of cancer. So it was diagnosed like 1A. I don't know. I just felt like the aggressive treatment didn't fit the diagnosis, even though I wasn't a doctor. And also, I had said like earlier, I was sick a lot growing up. So I hadn't had kids yet. So I was just really petrified of chemo. I didn't know what it was going to do to my body. I didn't know if I was going to be able to have kids afterwards. The doctors were like, we might have to freeze your eggs, things like that. So you're right. My inner knowing was like, this is aggressive and too much. And my body wasn't going to be able to handle it. And the oncologist did fire me. He did let me go. He just basically was like, you are not a patient I want to take care of. And I was like, I totally get it. So I did take it into my own hands. I did find a radiologist, a great radiologist to do half the radiation who like believed in that as well, so, and I was lucky. Like, I mean, it's so many years later and, nothing's ever come back and I've been okay. I mean, I did get some health issues from the radiation, but, the cancer never came back.
And I really love that you've made it your mission to really empower people in the choices that they make into their food and what they choose to put their body through or put into their body, which is why now that you are a trusted advisor and coach to so many, I'm curious too, Elissa, in your day-to-day coaching, and you mentioned you got paid lots of money to tell someone to drink 2 glasses of water before coffee. I'm so grateful that I got that advice for free just now. So thank you to that client. I wonder how you would explain the gut immune link, just in plain English, simply, and what daily ritual is the biggest return on investment for both the gut immune link?
So your gut is where where 90% of your serotonin is produced. So for happiness and all that. And 75% immune system is in your gut, and also that's kind of the first line that food comes into your system and into your gut, and your gut needs to be healthy to be able to break it down and absorb the nutrients. So it's just absolutely crucial for everything that goes on. Your gut needs to protect you from the outside world too. Just the toxins that are coming in from the food or the water or things that you are absorbing and eating and drinking are really crucial. And also it's where your instincts and your intuition are. So it's like energetically, that's a power. And like, I feel like what we were just talking about, if you're feeling stressed and like emotionally not good, it goes right to your gut. It's all connected. And I just feel like that is something that is so crucial to protect. And something that in the last 2 years that I just discovered that has really helped me with my gut. It doesn't work for everybody, so I'm not recommending this for everybody, but I started 2 years ago taking colostrum powder and it is from an animal, from a cow, and it does protect your lining of your gut in order to not get viral bacterial fungal issues in your lining. Also helps with immunoglobulins. It helps promote cell growth in your gut. It's really crazy amazing for immune function. And it's also great for like autoimmune issues and all kinds of autoimmune issues. So, and digestive issues. I've done that and it's really changed everything about my gut, digestion. I had some eczema that went away. I have Epstein-Barr in my system. So I used to get canker sores a ton. And like I've not had a single canker sore in 2 years with taking the colostrum powder. So like I said, like it is being touted out there for everybody. Not everybody has a great reaction to it, but it has been something personally that has been crazy life-changing for me.
Your gut it's like your engine room, right? You've got to protect that. And like you said, your all-knowing center of gravity and your all-knowing center where you tune into your energy. I want to kind of fast forward to kind of a futuristic sense. Imagine it's the year 2050, Elissa, and the CDC calls you to design a food-first oncology protocol. What does that look like?
Oh God, that's crazy. So, it would be like, I just try, like when I talk to my clients, I try so desperately to just have them have more of a plant forward diet. So it's like trying to get them to have 8 to 10 cups of vegetables a day. And that's a lot for most people. They don't even remotely get there. So, and having a variety of vegetables because they really are where all the nutrients are. There's a lot of incredible nutrients in those vegetables, grown in the earth, grown by the sun, and legumes and beans for fiber and vegetables and, leafy greens and all those things. I mean, just we are so focused on protein these days. And I do love protein. I do feel like we need to get protein as well, but it's just really about getting like the good stuff of the vegetables, juices, soups, like I do on the cleanse. We have 50 different types of vegetables in 1 week on 5 days of eating. So it's like just seeing how that feels. It just gives people a lot of energy, a lot of vibrancy. That as well as, probiotics, like probiotic foods, like we talked about earlier. Also things that really will detox you. Herbs and things like chlorophyll and that detox the liver, bitter greens that detox the liver, like foods that also help with all of that. Because the liver is really crucial, like we talked about. And I would say just, making sure people are really hydrated properly.
Because there is water in vegetables too, right?
Yeah. So it feels I'm a middle of the road girl. Like I will not have a ton of sugar. And I love dairy, but it doesn't agree with me. But cow dairy is inflammatory. Like goat and sheep are much better. They're a different casein molecule to break down, and cow is a little hard for us. And then sugar is crazy out of control. I don't think sugar gives us cancer. It's just when we overdo things, processed foods, bad seed oils and those kind of things. I just would be so focused on that. Like, my cancer clients come to me and they're like, the doctor just said I could eat anything. So it's frustrating, they don't tell them about just the basics of like, what's the bad stuff out there that will make you feel bad, and also cause more inflammation and really not get you better and not let you heal. So they don't have to go on a whole juicing regime or, like eating like all these vegetables, but just even to take the bad stuff out of their diet and clean it up in that way would be miraculous.
It's amazing. I think in 2050, if the CDC did call you, I think we would be in very good hands with 50 different vegetables in our fridges every week. You talked a lot about self-love and emotional regulation. What is truly lighting you up and giving you joy lately?
Well, I would say I love what I do for a living. So I do love helping people and I love people in general. So I really like getting into their psyche to see if I can just help them process something emotionally or, change something like with their diet that can help them be happier, healthier, just turn back the clock a little bit in their aging process. Cause I do deal with a lot of 50 and 60-year-olds who feel like they're aging and not feeling good. So, I mean, it's like really crazy beautiful when, someone says, wow, you just changed my life with what you mentioned in terms of my psyche or emotional well-being or the cleanse, 5 days of that and helping people. Like it's just such a beautiful thing that I can't even believe I get to do it. And then also to have my girls see that their mom can recreate herself after her husband passed away from cancer at an early age of 46 and like create a career that is really giving back to that community that took his life. Like that, just giving back it's just, there's nothing better in life to feel like you're doing good.
I love to because the doctor who asked you when you were 32, are you happy? Are you healthy? Are you good? Like, it's like you're answering those questions now. It's like, yes, you're happy. You love what you do. I'm assuming you're sleeping well.
Yes.
Yes.
Did have a
Doing
few
all the
years of
things.
insomnia, but I left that relationship and then I slept again.
I think we need to do another podcast
Whole
on
other
that.
podcast,
Yeah,
emotion, yes.
let's just
Yeah.
do a whole other podcast on emotional detoxing and
Yes,
healing.
God. Yeah, that's another thing I want women to realize, like there is something with, the people in your world, in your life, in your home that when you don't sometimes are getting sick a lot or not sleeping or, there could be something going on between like, and we don't realize that. We don't realize that there could be this connection with the person that's in your world that could be causing you stress. And it can be dealt with. It just doesn't come up enough, and talked about.
Absolutely. That's like a cliffhanger we need to end on. Who are you sleeping next to? Join us for the next episode. We're going to have a part two, Elissa, for this one. Well, Elissa, thank you so much for your time and for sharing time with me today. It's been an honor. I have learned so much. I'm going to go back and reflect on this podcast. I think you even giving me this time, you've been paying it forward. So thank you so much for joining me on The Jenny Show.
Thank you for having me on The Jenny Show. I'm honored to meet you.